So there's appropriate venues and time for insightful rhetoric, even sophistry, and perhaps nepotism. What was one other thing that's usually considered a bad thing? But okay, so there's an exemption or excuse time, like a exemption. But it's not really an exemption. It's like an appropriate venue or appropriate time. For something like sophistry, it's confusing, but rhetoric and those are things that are collegiate. Speculating, it's not always appreciated. I guess I'll just try to remember where this is going. Then if I can't come up with any more examples. But I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up, duality, well, it's not good or bad when it comes to duality, because everything it's one of those everything things. It's like you never escape. There's always gonna be. And then there's also people who have nothing to contribute will hit you up to more duality, and you'll say, no thanks, I don't need it. But that doesn't mean anything. It just, for them, it means, but it wouldn't necessarily mean anything. It's just necessary to tell someone who is importing more duality on top of the duality that already exists, that you might say that you don't need them or they're unnecessary. It doesn't mean you're free to kill. It just means that you're unnecessary. They'll probably act like a victim and probably say that you're already targeting them, just by virtue of not going for what they're selling you. Then this is a problem for our democracy. This should be very terrifying. Like you should be terrified right now or something like this. Who's to suggest how anybody should feel all the time, but if at any given time, the main feeling you should feel, if that's how you feel, it should be terrified. I don't get that. The thing about sophistry and rhetoric and nepotism being sometimes appropriate, because if that's how you feel, there has to be in it. It has to be in what's it called? Exception, because the truth is fluidity. Nobody has it. Nobody walks around with it and says, when you rather listen to advice and, from somebody who has the truth. Yeah, that would be a good grift. So it's always going to be enabled. Because if you already know something is bad, then you're not supposed to do that ever. But if you're really marginalized, what's wrong with a little nepotism? You're marginalized anyways. If you're not nepotistic, I don't know how that even helps. But if you're a generic middleman minority, then who has control over the banks, then it doesn't make sense. Then, you know, like, you don't need to be more nepotistic, because like everyone is under your control at that point. And so it's like, if they're already under your control, then you can't blame them for any lack of control. Then you can't get blood from a stone. You can't squeeze wine from a fucking sponge or cake or whatever. I don't know what it is that they try to do. Make $1 out of 15 cents. All that shit is sad. It's sad when you already have bajillion dollars. You don't even want this fiat paper. If somebody brought it all and put it on the front of their house and pallets of $110,000 bills or whatever the fuck, they would be like, "What's this doing here?" They would have a problem. It doesn't work. The system doesn't work like that. This is fucking paper. You understand? Like, we didn't want this back. We wanted some push of the modality enough to ingratiate the aristocracy across the board, because we got to get along with our cousins and everything. You don't want us to start calling Ernie Kaiser and start calling Willie Emperor. We like, you know what I mean? Then it's our problem at that point, I guess.